Hey, what's going on? Happy Canada Day. Happy NHL Free Agency Day. It's July 1st, 2024. NJ in London. Mike in Buffalo. He's in Buffalo, having been in Vegas for the past 3 days. What a whirlwind trip that was, Michael, covering the NHL entry draft for a variety of outlets, including the Leafs Convo. So I guess the word for the Maple Leafs over the last, 12, 24 hours, 36 hours, 48 hours, defense. Not only did they draft a bunch of them, today on free agency day, the big day, Chris Tanev is a part of the team, Oliver Ekman-Larsson a part of a team now as a free agent signing. Yanni Hakanpää, I mean, we're all excited for that, but another blue liner. The sense was that Brad Treliving was going to focus on strengthening this team from the blue line back. And whether we believe he's done that, we'll find out. But in terms of numbers, in terms of signings, in terms of personnel, he did what he said he was going to do. Good evening.
Good evening, Norm. Yes, he did. And we'll find out how successful he was in the season. But I do believe with the additions, and I liked most of the additions. Some people were complaining about some of the players that they retained. They re-signed Domi, and I thought that was a good move. It wasn't extremely costly at $3.75 million. They did lose Bertuzzi, but everybody believed that it was sort of like a either or proposition. If they signed Bertuzzi, they were going to lose Domi. If they signed Domi, they were going to lose Bertuzzi. They couldn't really afford both of them because they were looking to upgrade their blue line. So they chose Domi. Bertuzzi goes to Chicago making over $5 million. God bless him. And they allocated most of their resources to defense and goaltending. I like the Tanev deal, the deal that occurred at the end of the draft on Saturday where they got his rights. As soon as they traded for his rights, you knew he was getting signed. Right. They wouldn't do that if they didn't have an indication they would get a deal done. The 6
Why
years.
Why so long? 6 years. Oliver Ekman-Larsson gets 4 years. Why so long? Is that just the thing right now? Is there a strategy behind that?
Well, with the two different strategies with Tanev, and we haven't seen the breakdown of the details of how much, but more than likely the deal is front loaded. He's 34 years old. He could play 3-4 years, no doubt.
Sure.
But you never know. But the thing is that had it been another team, probably the deal would have been 4 years, and he maybe would have made more AAV than $4.5 million. It might have been 5, might have been 5.5, because some of the other defensemen out there like Pesce made 5.5. The offensive defensemen who are right-hand shots like Brandon Montour or Brady Shea, they made 7. Well, what they did was maybe it was a 4-year deal masquerading as a 6-year deal, and the extra 2 years spread the AAV out and lower it from in the 5s to in the 4s, and that's helpful. So I think that's the reason why. With Ekman-Larsson, Treliving said in his media availability this afternoon that that we wanted to get the player and we had to give the extra year to get the player. So there was a competition for a veteran guy who not so long ago was one of the maybe 5 or 6 best defensemen in the league. He's moved on to a more veteran situation now. He's 32. He's got a Stanley Cup. He was bought out by Vancouver. He played really well with Florida last year, wins the cup. And now, he knows Treliving from his days in Arizona as an assistant GM. His former teammate, longtime teammate Shane Doan is part of Leafs management. If you looked at all those connections, it made a lot of sense. But everybody tied the Leafs to Zadorov or to some of these other big defensemen, and they really probably couldn't afford, if they hadn't traded, if they didn't pull off a Marner deal, they couldn't afford those guys. So this was sort of a fallback, but a good fallback in terms of Ekman-Larsson.
Hey, this is the Leafs Convo on Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to our Canadian OGs and converts. To those of you who are not in Canada, you're most likely in the United States. And July 4th is a coming. We're excited for it. Just this one big conglomerate of celebration when July rolls around, Mike, not only because, Canada and the United States are celebrating birthdays, it's free agency time. And hey, Brad Treliving did his very best to get the Leafs Nation excited with some moves. Whether they pan out, at least he's trying. J. Paul Turner, Riley, Tanev, Benoit, McCabe, OEL, Liljegren, Yanni, 70. Now that looks a whole lot better than what we've seen over a decade. Again, Mike, it's really nowhere to go but up, considering the way we felt about this team and, where it's been successful but not good enough in a lot of ways is failure. So the reconfiguration with the signings and I guess, bringing dudes in, retaining others. Hey, there's reason for optimism. I don't see any reason why we should poo-poo on everything that's gone on over the last several hours.
Yeah, no, I don't think we should. I think the pairings that whoever it was that popped in, I think those are right. Now the thing is, Hakanpää, yeah, there you go. I mean, Liljegren, they re-signed at $3 million, and people were sort of wailing and gnashing teeth regarding that signing. And I'm like, he's a right-hand shot defenseman, and if you look at the prices in free agency of right shot defensemen, and not even, okay, the top line, like I said, Shea at $7 million, Montour at $7 million, Brett Pesce got $5.5 million from New Jersey. Matt Roy, who everybody thought was going to be a discount, got 7 years and $5.5 million from Washington. So the costs were ridiculous.
That salary cap went up, and everybody wanted to spend the coin, right?
Well, but the thing is, it's right shot defensemen. There are not enough good ones in this league. Now, I like Liljegren. I've liked him for a while. Obviously he's had some injury issues. He's had some consistency issues. He's not Justin Hall. He's a lot better than that. And what they did was, he's 2 years away from unrestricted free agency. They didn't sign him to a 4 or 5 year deal. That would have cost him a lot of money. There was talk in Vegas, Norm. I was talking to one reporter who said there's some chatter that they might not even qualify him, because then they didn't want to tie themselves down in terms of money towards free agency if they had to sign Liljegren to a $4 or $5 million deal. Now they got him on a 2 year deal at $3 million. That's very reasonable. I mean, if they decide they want to move him as part of a deal, they're not going to have a problem, because he's right shot defense. He's 25 years old. He's a good player. He's not a great player, but he's, look at that configuration that you posted before. Bottom pairing with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's pretty damn good. Now do I think Simone Benoit and Jake McCabe is a good 3-4? It's okay. I mean, if they play physically, then they'll be all right. I mean, I would love to have gotten Zadorov at $5 million like he went to Boston, but he can't have everything. But where I have the issue right now is I don't like, and I'm not saying anything against him, but I don't like 2 years at $2 million for Anthony Stolarz. All of a sudden, they're bringing back this London Night Mafia. Stolarz was on the same team as Marner and Max Domi back in, I think, 2012 or 2013 or 2014, somewhere around there.
So you don't like Stolarz. Anthony Stolarz will be the complementary piece to Joseph Woll, who will get the opportunity to be the number one. And hey, Matt Murray remains in the organization. He'll be the number 3. I assume they believe he's going to be healthy enough to play some hockey in 24-25.
I think what's going to happen is it's going to be sort of like Martin Jones. He's going to get stored down with the Marlies, play occasionally. Remember, he had double hip surgery. He was coming back. I mean, I don't think it's a bad risk. I don't think he'll get claimed on waivers because, he's had a history of injury issues.
Interesting.
It's Chris, it's possible. I mean, if he's completely healthy, I mean, the thing is, if he plays well in the exhibition schedule, they won't be able to send him down unless the construct of the contract is similar to Martin Jones, that it has like a heavy bonus on it. They'll have to keep 3 goaltenders. My problem with Stolarz is, I mean, I was thinking that they were going to go and get a 1B, somebody who could play 35, 40 games. They're selling Stolarz as a 1B. He's never played more than 28 games in his entire career. He's been a backup. Now, he played really well with Florida, but Florida had a great defense and won the Stanley Cup. This isn't, it's like saying, well, great, Laurent Brossoit played great last year with Winnipeg. Well, Hellebuck won the Vezina. So, of course, his stats are going to look good.
But are they not projecting that he's going to be able to eke out a couple more games? I mean, 28 games goes to 34. I mean, sure, he could play 6, 7, 8 more games. And by that point, you're thinking, wait a minute, I thought this was Joseph Woll's net with Matt Murray waiting in the wings. So maybe all he needs to do is play 28 to 30 games, if that.
But the whole point here is the one thing that Treliving communicated was that they were fearful of Woll getting hurt again, and he's gotten hurt all the time.
Sure.
Now, they extended him. And I like Joseph Woll. I think he's clearly the number one in terms of talent. But the one thing that's concerning is his inability to stay healthy. Stolarz, I mean, I don't feel comfortable if I'm a Leaf fan and you're saying Joseph Woll gets hurt in November, and now Anthony Stolarz is going to stand on his head for 3, 4, 5 weeks while Joseph Woll is coming back. That's where Matt Murray could have to step in. Right. And like I said, I mean, if they had gotten a better 1B, then I would feel safer splitting time with Woll and this other goaltender like Kaapo Kähkönen or somebody of that nature, but they didn't do that. Woll is going to have to be the starter, and I think he's going to have to start 55 games. All I can say the one thing, they didn't sign or re-sign Jack Campbell. Thank God for that.
OG's converts, like the content, subscribe to the channel. Thank you very, very much for being here. You got short notice tonight that we were going to do a show. Mike's in transit over the last several days, and then now at home, settling in. I've been away in the United States, back here just kind of getting my shit together as we get into another week, another month for car sales. Oak Ridge Ford is your sponsor. We really do appreciate everything that dealership has done for us. If you're looking for a brand new vehicle, I'm the guy. Ford's got the best programs they've had in years. Right now, July is going to be no different. SUV, truck, electric, internal combustion engine. I am your man. Norman.james@oakridgeford.com is how you can email me, at Norman@oakridgeford on Instagram. So 3 defensemen signed. They retained Liljegren. They re-signed Max Domi. You've got a goalie in Stolarz. Matt Murray's still part of the fray. What the hell else can they do, Mike? And how does it involve what happens with number 16, say, over the next 7 to 10 days, if anything?
Well, I mean, the one significant subtraction that has not been addressed, I mean, they lost Edmondson. Edmondson got overpaid in LA at, I think, 3.8 times 4 years. And I liked Edmondson and I wanted them to keep him, but that, he had to go with that kind of term and that kind of money on his injury history. Ilya Lyubushkin got 3.25 from Dallas, and I like Ilya Lyubushkin. He's been on this team twice. I like him as a compliment, but they got Hakanpää for half the price, and I think Hakanpää and Lyubushkin are interchangeable. So defensively, with the additions that they made, they covered for the subtractions. At forward, they lost Bertuzzi. That's 20 goals, and you have nobody to replace him. Now, does that mean that Matthew Nyes, Bobby McMahon, Nick Robertson, who he mentioned?
Well, it should be Nick Robertson. If he's asking for a trade, well, go put up 20 goals there, Nick.
Well,
put up 20 goals. Get some leverage for yourself.
Here's the issue with Nick Robertson. Do I understand the reason why he is asking for a trade, that he intends not to re-sign with the team, according to CJ, Chris Johnston? I understand it. Why? Because for most of his tenure in Toronto, he's sort of been dicked around. I mean, with the injury problems, that's not on him. That's not on the Leafs. Unfortunately, he got injured. Mm-hmm. This year, he was healthy, and he scored when he was played. Problem was he wasn't played enough. He played, I think, like an average of 10, 11 minutes. Sometimes he was getting the ice time comparable to Noah Gregor or Ryan Reeves. This guy's got talent. He's got a shot. He should have been given more of an opportunity to play in the top 6. Problem is Sheldon Keefe didn't trust him defensively. And I get it. He's not a big player. And the thing is, I think he's reading the tea leaves and saying Craig Berube likes big players, likes players who are accountable at both ends. Maybe that doesn't fit Nick Robertson. Nick Robertson is a scorer. There is room in this league and on teams for scorers. You have to compensate and have somebody who plays in defense on those lines to cover for them.
Right.
I think they need Nick Robertson. He wants.
Maybe they want him to stick around because if they can expend number 16 and open up all that cap space and release themselves, from this player and move on, Nick Robertson would be the guy. What would be a candidate to fill in? I mean, he fits that mold, but I mean that remains to be seen, even if it gets to that point.
Well, I think that Nick Robertson. I mean, he's not the same body type. He's not the same physical type of player that Bertuzzi is. But if you elevate Nick Robertson into a top 6 role, play him and Matthew Nyes on the left side in the top 6. Then now Domi could play in the top 6 on the right side. Maybe Nylander switches to the other side, and that's how they compensate. We don't know what's going to happen with Marner. We can continue to speculate on that, but I mean it's sort of pointless. And Treliving was asked today about it, and he really had no update. He just said Mitch is a great player and won't say anything more than that. To me, that means I think they're still trying to do something. Frank Cervalli reported that they're talking, that there's some chatter about them in Vegas. If that happens, then it's probably like a Shea Theodore type of trade. Maybe more. It would have to be more because of to balance the salary cap, but we don't know. And the thing is, if they do trade Marner, they're going to have to find, that's 90 points there. Now 20 goals with Bertuzzi and 90 points with Marner. Those have to be replaced. Can you replace them after most of the free agents are gone? No. I mean, there were some guys out there that thought maybe like a Jeff Skinner or David Perron would come in. I mean, everything is really in flux still. I would say this. By July 10th, if a Marner deal isn't happened, it's not happening. It's just this is William Nylander 2.0. If he was going to get traded, he was going to get traded early in July. Once that didn't happen, and he went to training camp, and then the chatter started talking about extension, it was over with. Now, do I think they're going to extend Marner? I don't know. There's some people who believe they are going to. I know a lot of people, and some people don't care about what the fans think. The teams should, because honestly, if they sign Mitch Marner and you keep losing in the first round, not to say there's going to be a revolt, not to say people are going to stop coming to see them, but you're going to really wound and affect the sort of the feeling that the fan base has towards this team. You cannot keep ignoring what they want.
There's excitement over the signings and the possibilities of these new guys pushing the Leafs forward, unlike their predecessors were able to. You wonder, though, if that goodwill that is being generated through the fan base right now, just some optimism after another disappointing exit in the Stanley Cup playoffs, will be thwarted or dampened by the Leafs' inability to do anything with Mitch Marner, and potentially the resignation of the fact, what, guys, we're just going to have to keep going down the road with this player, and it'll become what it becomes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know whether these signings will be successful or not. I mean, I can say I look at the structure of the Leafs defense now, and I think you have. It's not one of the best 5 defenses in the league, but I think it's top 10. I think that they've really improved the depth. They've improved the left-right breakdown. They've improved the experience of this group. That is one big thing that they believe they have cured. Now, the goaltending to me is a big question mark. I believe in Joseph Woll, but he's got to stay healthy, and they really have no fallback on that. And up front, they're a 2-line team. And like person just made
if they cannot part ways with Mitch Marner over the next couple of weeks, and they just throw their hands up and say, look, this is the way it's going to be. How is the fan base going to react to that? I mean, we're just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's like I said, you're not going to have empty seats at Scotiabank Arena.
Right.
You've got Matthews and you've got Nylander. You've got star power on this team. You've got a fan base that is loyal and rabid. They're pissed off, and I think they'll be pissed off. Now, the thing is, a lot of people think if Mitch Marner has a great beginning of the season like Nylander had last year, all the bad feelings will be assuaged.
Right.
Maybe in the short term it will. They lose in the first round again. And they go to the end of the year without him signing him to an extension. Brendan Shanahan will A, lose his job, and B, Keith Pelley will probably recommend that they walk away from Marner. I mean, they either have to extend. This is Nylander all over again. It's you either extend him or you trade him. You cannot let him walk away for nothing.
Well, I don't think the general population of the fan base wants him extended. They want him moved. Easier said than done. Jim Georgiadis keeping Marner is a lose-lose situation for the team and player if they don't move him. Everyone loses.
Right, but the problem is that it's not up to them to whether he moves. He has something to say about it. And the no move clause. I mean, somebody asked me, "Hey, what did they call those players that were that the Leafs couldn't try?" I said Muskoka 5. Okay, history is repeating itself. Now, with some of these guys, you don't want to move Austin Matthews. You don't want to move William Nylander. Maybe you don't want to move John Tavares if he played. I mean, I think he played good last year. He's aging. He's not the same player he was 5-6 years ago. If he takes less on a new deal, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with that. But Mitch Marner asking for $12 million, if that's what he's going to ask on a new deal, nobody is going to like that.
Yeah, no doubt. Mike, I got to get out of here. It's Canada Day. There's fireworks going on in the neighborhood. Just real quick on the draft. I know Ben Danford from the Oshawa Generals, amongst the group of defensemen that Brad Treliving and the Brass selected, obviously want to expand the coffers and kind of rectify some issues with the defensive group that the team has had. Not to say that they didn't try in the past, but this is another opportunity for the Leafs to become defensive centric and then augment from there. Last word to you on the draft, and if you've got any other little tidbits for us.
Yeah, I mean the draft was underwhelming in terms of Danford. He's really enthused to be a Leaf. He's a lifetime Leaf fan. He seems to follow the same blueprint as Easton Cowan did last year, in the sense that Cowan was projected to be a second or early third round pick. Danford, depending on what scouting source you read, it was either anywhere from the 30s to the 50s. So that's late first round to third or to second, low second. They like him. He's right-handed. He's smart. He's a matchup defender. He only scored 1 goal for the Generals last year, but then played really well in the playoffs. And Oshawa lost to London in the OHL championship. They like him, but it was, I think, a little bit of a reach. They traded down to get an extra second round pick, and then they flipped that second round pick to get a second next year when they have no draft picks. So the one funny thing, and we'll go get going after this, the 4th round pick that they picked, Victor Johansson, nobody knew who he was.
Right.
I mean, he was not in any of the scout. He was not.
Do you like that? Do you like that they're going off the beaten path to pick players, or should we know who amongst the group is worthy of expending a pick on?
I think I in this day and age, when you have elite prospects and the Hockey Prospect Black Book and Sportsnet and the NHL. Right. I mean, nobody had this guy on their list. No one. I mean, of the I know a few people who said that they had heard of him. He had been his older brother had been drafted by Detroit a couple years ago. He's 6 foot and 143 pounds. I mean, it was bizarre. Now, it's a 4th round pick, and the odds of him making the NHL and doing anything are, 10 to 15%. But you'd like to know that you'd heard of this guy before and say, okay, he's a B-rated prospect, or he's this. Nobody knew. So it's a blank slate. So we'll see in 4 or 5 years whether Wes Clark hit a grand slam home run on this one, or you're like, what the hell was going on here?
Hey, it's worth a try, Mike. The same way we can view the free agent signings, it's worth a try. Other things haven't. Maybe things get better now, and the progression of the team is bolstered by the new additions, and then potential opportunity to come, whether it's number 16 staying or going. It remains to be seen, and we'll be all over it. OG's Converse, like the content, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for being here. Mike and I will try to do Leaf Convo content with regularity, week in and week out. The Sunday Spectacular will always be a thing. It just really depends on availability. But one thing is for certain, season 7 is going to be bigger and better than ever. So subscribe, like the content, tell your friends. I'm just looking forward to so much more content with my friend, Mr. Augello. Happy Canada Day to all our Canadian viewers. And hey, the 4th of July is just around the corner for our American compatriots. Thank you so much, guys, for everything you do for us. Mike, get some rest, okay? Great work in Vegas. Great work on the content. We're looking forward to more of your stuff at hockeybuzz.com, the hockey news, and everywhere else that you contribute to, because you do great work. For Mike, I'm Norm. The Leafs Convo is out. Enjoy your night.